Hoffman. Myself and Alberta Hemsley started this group 2.5 years ago, in January of 2017. We have met every single Tuesday except for the Tuesdays that were New Year's and Christmas last year. But we have met every single Tuesday, and we've had speakers from a varied perspective, giving us lots of information, and that's what this group is. This is an information group. We do not endorse candidates. We listen to candidates, and we make our own decisions. We let each other know what's going on in the community, and I'm very proud to say, whenever I'm at an action, I can always see members of the Greater Cincinnati Dems, because we are out there trying to make a difference in the world. We came together as a kind of social group. We had to come together in January 2017 so that we could survive. We had to have people to talk to who are of like minds, who knew we could speak freely to, and that's what we've done. We don't always agree on everything, but that's quite all right. I encourage discourse. It is, because you learn, so long as we are listening as we are learning. Discourse. Conversation, but discourse I think is a little bit more two-sided, but you gotta listen. Carol Madding is now going to be taking care of our lunch orders with Venice on Vine, and she's also going to be passing around the donation basket. I'd like to let you know that every week we pay a $50 rental fee to use this room. It doesn't go to the church, it just pays for air conditioning and lighting and equipment. So thank you very much for your donations. $2 would be great. I have a whole list of announcements here. I'd like to have a shout out to Susan Amy, who's one of our people. Stand up, Susan. Susan had an amazing judicial fundraiser on Sunday afternoon. It was a wonderful wine and cheese party. It was absolutely great. So thank you very much, Susan.
Just FYI, we raised over $1,600.
Wow.
Great.
Fun. But you can still contribute by sending it to the Hamilton County Democratic Party Judicial Fund. Any little bit helps.
Any little bit helps. $10, $15, $1,000, whatever you can give, they appreciate. Thanks.
Yeah, it was great meeting with all of them and realizing, they're just like you and me. Just regular people, you and me, that we need significant judicial reform in Hamilton County, and it'd be really great to get this slate elected. Got some sad news. Elizabeth Holzapfel, short, white hair, blonde hair, it's always here with Lang. She's been in a lot of pain lately. She was sitting here 3 weeks ago and she could barely move. They finally determined that she has metastatic cancer. They are trying to determine where the site of the beginning is. They know it's been metastasized, it's into her vertebrae, and it's fracturing her vertebrae. So she's in just excruciating pain. So they're trying to manage her pain right now and then determine. She may be going down to the Anderson in Houston to see if they can help her. We may, as the weeks go by, maybe have a dinner sign-up list that you would go and deliver, because apparently Lang does not cook. And she's not capable of doing that. So think about Elizabeth. I've known her for just absolute years. When I was the lead teacher for Cincinnati, working with our large federal grants, and she was the person that was in research and evaluation, and so all the data, she always had all the great data. And I would go down, sit down with her, she'd clear off her desk, and we were always welcoming, always a person, no matter that she was an administrator, she was always welcoming. So she's very near and dear to my heart, so keep her in your thoughts. Now I'm going to get real political. Well, I'll first say Moms Demand Action is having their August meeting on Saturday, 1 o'clock at St. John's UU. I thought was very interesting last night. I'm one of those geeks that likes to watch So You Think You Can Dance. I don't know if you know. And one of their choreographers is Travis Wall. He did their very first opening number with all 10. Was basically Enough is Enough. It was really pretty wonderful. So if you need to get in and see something that can inspire you, it was really a great dance number that people are using to express it. Enough is enough. Several months ago, the Ohio Democratic Party came out with a resolution. Its resolution made it very clear that charter schools were not the friend of public education, and that Teach for America was an arm of the privatization movement. Teach for America is funded by the Koch brothers. That's where the money. It is dark money. Now, the reason that I bring this up is that the Hamilton County Democratic Party has failed to endorse that resolution yet. We have a school board race in Cincinnati. We have endorsed candidates. Okay. Eve Bolton, Carolyn Jones, and Ozzie Davis were for the 3 spots for 4-year terms. Pam Bowers was endorsed for one of the 2-year terms. Ozzie Davis was not certified yesterday. He did not get enough signatures on his petition. Peter asked me last week specifically, why was Marlena Brookfield not endorsed? And I will tell you the reason for that. They're scared of Ben Lindy. Ben Lindy is Teach for America. He is dark money all the way. And he has those people in the Hamilton County Democratic Party promised money for their endorsement. It's dangerous because it's dark money getting into our school district.
CBC.
He is endorsed by the Cincinnati business community, absolutely. Now that he does not have a certified spot, they're going to be selecting who their next person is to endorse. If the Hamilton County Democratic Party chooses to go with Ben Lindy, because he says he's a Democrat, but he's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's all, and we know that. They choose to go with him and disrespect the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers, the Ohio Federation of Teachers, and the Ohio Democratic Party. There's going to be hell to pay. The Cincinnati Federation of Teachers is the largest union in Southwest Ohio. This is very, very serious. So those of you who are precinct chairs, you need to pay attention. Just a minute, Jane. Yeah. It's very important because the other 2 people that have their candidacy, that are certified, are Ben Lindy and Heather Couch. Heather Couch is a charterite. She wants charter schools. That's where she comes from, and that's what she does. And she's into vouchers and charter schools. Ben Lindy is Teach for America. So Marlena Brookfield should have been endorsed, get out, from the beginning. But she wasn't because they wanted to go with the incumbents, thinking that the incumbents endorsed would keep Ben Lindy out. Well, we've got to do something about it. So Jane, you had something you wanted to say about that?
Yes, I've been at this a long time, involved with the party and party committees and party issues and so on. And he has been rejected before, so it's not unprecedented. He didn't make it in one of his earlier attempts. So just so you know, it's not going to be impossible this time either, I believe.
Thank you for that, Jane, because everybody needs to be very much aware of that. And also down there in the 2-year term thing, Pam Bowers is serving on the board right now, and she's kind of a breath of fresh air. But you've got Gary Favors and Steve Megley. Gary Favors is presently a CPS teacher, but he's not our friend. He's been endorsed by the CBC. So he's that same he would love to see CPC do whatever.
Yeah, I would just come out, I would just remind people that Gary Favors has come out against the CPS 10-year renewal levy, and all the more reason that it makes it very difficult for the district to do the things that it needs to do to move forward when you're going to deny them the right to fund their district.
All right, now, Ben Lindy and Heather Couch, and those are for the 4-year term. And Gary Favors and Steve Magerly for the 2-year term. Those are the dangerous candidates. Okay? All righty, now it's time.
We have an announcement or below, microphones are around the room. Bill has one. Peter has announcement cards we wanted in our newsletter. We have another microphone.
I'm Ann Redford, and I'm a member of this church, so this is a bipartisan thing. I don't want to be too loud because we were so loud out there. Now can you? I'm okay now? Okay. This little container thing up here is for recycling. We collect pill bottles and printer ink and toner cartridges. I don't know. And the pill bottles, we must be a sick congregation because we have a lot of them. But I take those to Matthew 25, they're shredded and they're sold so that they do get reused. So if you have some, bring them, put them in here, and I'll get them out to Matthew 25. The other thing is the ink cartridges and toner cartridges. I take those to Staples, they give us rewards so that we get paper for the office here. So if you have either of those things, put them in here. Thanks.
Matthew 25 prefers that the labels are off. And that's not an easy process.
Hey, how did you film things at Blue Gilman? We didn't have anyone else.
Yeah, I did it the same way.
Matthew 25 prefers that the label be taken off, and then, so they need to be soaked and do some kind of a, I forgot, glue gun or something like that, to take them off. It makes it much easier for them to use, to reuse.
Is that a new thing? Because when I've been there, it wasn't that way. And when the labels are off, I have to find them all stuck together. So you have to be careful with that too.
All right. Actually, an announcement. Yep. Everybody, my name is Matt Caffrey. I am the Eastern Field Director with Swing Left. I cover all the states from Indiana east. I am on a bit of a whirlwind tour of Ohio, and Mary Carroll here recommended that I come out to today's meeting. So we are having an event this evening. It's a bit of a kickoff for Swing Left in Southwest Ohio. As you all likely know, we supported AFTAB in the congressional race last year. We came incredibly close. We're going to be supporting the nominee in the 1st District again in 2020. But our strategy is broadened. We cover the White House, the Senate, and the state legislative districts that will determine the districting. With this compromise, the Republicans are pretending that they're not going to gerrymander, but I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. And so the more Democrats we elect to the state House and Senate, the harder it will be for them to gerrymander, and if we can flip the state Supreme Court. You all know all this, but just so you all know, we have identified Ohio as one of our 2020 super states, and I can give you a handout for that. If you are interested in learning more, and particularly in learning how we can start planning to win in November of 2020 now, you're more than welcome to join us tonight at 7 p.m. We're meeting at Taste of Belgium in Over the Rhine. So we'd love to have folks. I also have cards and buttons and handouts for anybody who's interested after. Great. Yeah. 7 p.m.
I know that most of us are activists, but many of us don't know too much about organizing. So if you would like to learn more about organizing, this training session is being put on in conjunction with a lot of other groups. And the flyer indicates that it's mostly about educational justice, and it is in the beginning, but there's a lot in there that will just be about how to organize. So think about participating. You need to sign up. It's free. There's breakfast, lunch. It's Saturday, September the 14th from 9:30 to 3. And these flyers will be here. I know Katie announced it last week. We'll continue to announce it. Yeah, and just, keep people who weren't here last week and others aware. Yeah, we're trying to get students too. And young people who want to organize and get involved politically.
Hi, everybody. Two things regarding education to follow up to that. One is, most people know, school is back in session for Cincinnati Public Schools. So please be mindful when you're driving around your neighborhoods and your communities for our school children out there walking, crossing the streets when they're out there. Two is Cincinnati Public Schools, the board and the administration, along with community members, launched their strategic plan last week and the week before. If you go to the CPS website, cps-k12.ohio.us, you'll find the strategic plan there. It's a 3-year plan, lays out things regarding growth, CPS being the fastest growing urban school district, not only the top urban school district in Ohio, but the fastest growing urban school district. As school districts throughout our state are losing students, CPS is growing. They were projected to have roughly 28,000 students this year. For the start of the year, they're projecting over 36,000. And unfortunately, there's a cap as it relates to their budget, how much new money and new dollars they can get based upon the number of students. But growth is important to our district. There's also communication, best practices or optimized strategies, and other headings. So by all means, please become familiar with what our district is doing. Our parochial schools are going back on Thursday, and some of our private schools are also returning. So just be on the lookout for our kiddos in our communities. Thanks.
So what should I do as a principal?
Yes.
One more thing. And for those who might not have been here last time, I just wanted everybody to know marvelous talk by Charmaine McGuffey, who's running for sheriff. I sent her a large donation, and she has a website, get on there and try to support her. I went once on a tour of the jail while she was director of it. It was getting to be a marvelous place, where she had all kind of community people coming in to do things with the inmates, trying to provide some education and support for the inmates there. Terribly important. Thank you.
Martha, are you sure it was just a tour? Rabble-rouser that you are.
Hi, I'm Rob Weidenfeld, and we are having I'm the ward chair in Montgomery. We are having I suppose it's a day of action in Loveland and Blue Ash, and it really isn't as far as you might think. So if you're looking to either canvass or phone call or write postcards, Carrie is one of the 4 candidates running in the Cincinnati area. She's District 5. And we desperately need to win, because right now the municipal judgeships, which include Tyrone Yates and includes John Kennedy and Erica Underwood, we are in a minority, 7-5. And if we can win over 1 seat, and Kerry is running against an established Republican, if we can win over 1 seat, then we will be able to set the agenda, and we will be able to do a number of things that we cannot currently do right now, because that will make it a tie. If we win all those races, we will have the majority on the municipal court, and it will make a huge difference in terms of the way things are processed, the possibility of things like bail reform, and any number of things. So if you're not occupied, Saturday it's 10 o'clock, I'll give you the details. It will actually happen in Blue Ash, and that will be our focal point, and we will begin at that point. Thank you.
Is that it? This could go on, Lori. It could go on forever and ever.
I know, I see.
We are a very active group, so that's really good. And continue to bring your friends and family, because this is what it's all about. The judges were just so excited. They'll be starting to come in September. The judges will be coming. So Lori, now it's your turn.
All right.
All righty. She changed her topic, so she's going to get up here and tell you what she's going to be talking about.
Well, I didn't really change my topic. So my topic is storytelling and great community engagement. And there's two examples of that I want to talk about today. Just for those of you who don't know me, I served on city council from 2009 to 2013. And before that, I was the I-Team reporter for about 15 years on Channel 9, where I led investigative work. And now I have my own company. I've had it for the last 10 years, LQ Consulting. I do video storytelling and community engagement. And one of my most recent projects that I'm really proud of, that I'm going to talk to you about, is this documentary that aired on PBS stations all across the country this year, called Blue Goes Green, and it's about our own Cincinnati Police District 3. So that Police District 3 serves the west side of Cincinnati. How many of you live on the west side of Cincinnati? Wow. Okay.
We are not West Side.
All right. I want to know my audience. How many of you live in the city? Oh, that's good. All right. Well, then maybe you don't care, but you should, about this West Side Police Station, because it was such a wonderful project for our city for a number of reasons. So first of all, I'm just going to play you the film trailer. It's only 50 seconds long, so you get just a flavor about what this half-hour documentary that made its way all around the country was about. I hope. Do we have a mic I can put by the speaker so it comes out? I tested it earlier and it played. But I like the microphone because it's only coming out of the speaker and we can make it louder so you can hear it. I'm just going to hold it. It's good. All right, let's play this little trailer.
Don't have to be ugly in life. There is a dollar to be made in sustainability, and we're willing to work hard enough to make that dollar. We need to build a new headquarters. We have lots of criteria we have to follow, and we went through each site with the community. I'm very proud of still involved in everyone. We're in Ohio, we're in the whole country. So if we can do it here, everybody in your mind, open space areas, like it actually changes the mood when you spend time with it. It's on 24/7, 365, it never shuts down, and we're able to get that into it. We wanted something that represented us, and we got it.
Okay, so I don't know if you could hear that well, but I have never given this presentation before, so this is really just for you. But I thought you might be interested on how you get something to become a PBS doc. Because a lot of people have asked me, you know, they say, oh, I have a good story. How could we make this into a PBS documentary? So let me tell you how this happened. See if I can get this full screen. I don't know. Can you read that, or should I try to get it full screen? Bottom right corner.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not really doing anything. Let's see. Here, yes, please. Maybe this 100%. Would that do it? Oh, that's too much. Okay.
There you go. Woohoo!
How'd you do that? Well, stay close by, will you? Okay. So really, it started with good leadership by elected officials. Because when I actually was on council at the time, and we were discussing, you know, we needed this new police station for the west side, which is the biggest district we have in the city. And we decided on council, well, if we're going to do this and spend all this money, let's make sure citizens are involved in the project at every level. So we did a council motion directing administration to make sure that they did involve citizens. And they started, the city did, by holding these community meetings in 2013 at Elder High School on the west side, asking for citizen suggestions on where to put this new police station.
It had been on, in East Price Hill. And they looked at more than 20 sites. And eventually, because the community was very involved in these meetings, everybody agreed with the city's decision to put it on Ferguson Road. In October 13th, there was the groundbreaking, and we also asked citizens, if you'd like to be involved in this police station all the way through, how it looks, what's in it, be on the community advisory team. So I nicknamed it the Wispy Cats. That stands for West Side Police Station Citizen Advisory Team. And at first, about 20 people on the west side from any west side neighborhood could sign up. 20 people signed up. That kind of petered down to about 12 people who were regulars. And they came to a monthly meeting with the development team and a group of police leaders to talk about what to do with the station for the public realm. They were given a budget of $150,000, and they got to decide how to spend it on public art.
You need to pull that down. Pull it down. This is a movie theater.
In the end, they decided that in addition to the public art that they chose for the station, that they wanted improved, sustainable landscaping. They wanted the police station to be a little more welcoming. And they actually were able to convince the architects to change the design of the building a bit. So that they really had influence on the building. So there was a big ribbon cutting in 2015. Then, I don't know if any of you remember Assistant City Manager Scott Skiles. But I was off council. We had a coffee meeting, and we were talking about the station, which was just getting underway. And, you know, I was telling him about what I do, video storytelling, and he goes, you know, it's so great if we could document what we're going to do with this police station, because it's the first time we've ever required LEED on our buildings, LEED silver at the minimum, and they were hoping to get net zero energy. And if they got net zero energy, that means they would be the first police station in the whole country to achieve that. And then it was the first time they've ever involved the community so deeply in a project. And it's the first time they ever put public art in the budget so the community could be involved. Without that public art in the budget, the community would have really had no reason to keep meeting every month with the development team and having influence in it. So anyway, he hired me basically to do some videos for the city. So I produced a short save the date video for the ribbon cutting. Then the ribbon cutting video was actually a documentation of the community involvement over the past year. It played on a continuous loop in the police roll call room during the open house. So citizens could tour the building and then stop in the roll call room and watch it at their leisure. And then I did a 7-minute video documenting what made this building get to net zero energy. How did they do it? So showing all the green elements. And that was used by the city for a variety of uses. They also did a breakout session at the Midwest Sustainability Summit and used the video to educate people. And then the city said, okay, now put it all together in a documentary for us. And I said, okay, but who's going to see it? What's the audience? And they said, well, I don't know, city cable? And I was like, oh, it's such a good story. It's actually a national story what you're doing. Let's think a little bit bigger. So I convinced them to let me go pitch this to PBS. Now I've done documentaries before for TV stations that I was employed by, but I'd never done one for PBS. I didn't know anybody there. But I went and pitched this programming director. He liked the story. He reviewed the videos I'd already done for the city. And he said, well, if you can raise the money and reshoot everything that can be reshot. Some things couldn't be reshot, like the early construction video that I had, but he wanted all the interviews redone and everything like that. And by the way, you can't use any of the city funds that are remaining in the budget for video to help fund this. So I was like, what? Because I thought that, first of all, PBS might help somehow. I thought for sure that I could use some of the city funds to do it, but anyway, they said no. So by then, I was kind of all in with my idea, and I spent the next year raising the money to do this documentary. So I would meet with corporations, individuals, foundations. It took a long time because I wasn't on council anymore. One thing I learned is when you're on city council raising money for something, people take your call. They don't when you're not. But anyway, that's why it took a year to do. And, you know, I would meet with folks. We raised the money, then we reshot everything that could be reshot in 2016. I added the element of police characters for the film because that was one thing I didn't have in the original. I wanted people to see how this had changed the lives of our officers working in a building that was actually designed for them as opposed to one they were smashed into. That was 100 years old. Now, here's part of the story that I've never told anybody publicly before. Here I am, I've got my date. It's going to air in October 2017. I'm passing out flyers at National Police Night out at one of those parks, and I run into the city manager, Harry Black, and he kind of snatches away my flyer and said, "What's this?" "Well, we'll see about that." And he walked away, and I was like, What's going on? The next day, I got a cease and desist letter. This is August. The documentary is going to air in October on PBS, saying we don't want this documentary to go forward. And if you do, we'll sue you. This is a city that I just did all the videos for and I'm getting national attention for. They wouldn't return my calls. Nobody from the city manager's office, the law department, or the mayor. So I was really upset, panicked. You know, I just spent 2 years of my life to try to make this happen. What about my donors? What am I going to tell them? So I had to hire a lawyer, and I chose to hire the city's former law director to help me on this one. And that was a good move, because he knows all about politics. He never did get an explanation, though, from anybody. I think what he might have said behind the scenes to them was, how is this going to look if Laure goes public, that you're killing the positive documentary on the city? PBS was stunned. You know, wrote emails saying, why would the city kill a positive documentary about the city? There was really no good answer for that. So finally, Kerp said he had convinced them to back down, and the only thing I got was a phone call from the city manager saying, well, my people just don't serve me well. He never apologized, he never explained, but at least I knew I wasn't going to be sued. So then I have to go back to PBS and say, okay, it's resolved, and they gave a new air date. The air date was 2 days after the election because I was a council candidate. And PBS was thinking, and I was thinking too, maybe it has something to do with they just don't want me to get publicity or look good or anything right before the election. So they moved the air date, and that was fine with me. It aired. That's what I wanted. So since then, there's been several screenings in the community by environmental groups. Bill and several others of you have been to them. Councilmember Sittenfeld screened the dock in council chambers in 2018 because, as you may have heard, the city's now planning to build another brand new police station for District 5 neighborhoods. And they kind of put it on hold for budget reasons, but there was a lot of controversy about that. And then the documentary got selected by NETA, the National Educational Television Association, to be distributed nationwide to PBS stations. Yay! So they don't have to air it though. And what I learned from my filmmaker friends is just because NETA puts it up on their satellite doesn't mean anything. You've got to promote and sell, and I'm like, oh my God. Plus, they also wanted me to change the name of the documentary. They said Cincinnati Leads the Nation was too provincial. They wanted something that might appeal to other cities. So I had to raise more money to do the editing, to change the name, and I hired a film agent at the suggestion of some people who've done these documentaries for PBS, and she was well worth it. She knows all the programming directors all over the country, and she just called them up and, you know, convinced people that they should air this documentary. So it was Earth Day programming, which is in late April, and then National Police Week is in May. And these are some of the cities where it aired. As you can see, these are big markets, so more than a third of the country got to hear our great sustainability story. one thing I forgot to mention is when I met with the PBS guy and I said, you know, Cincinnati's going to build the first net zero energy police station in the whole country. And he said, I think you've got that wrong. He said, that couldn't be right. It's got to be, there's already got to be a city on the West Coast or somewhere. We were first. And that is one reason that PBS said yes, because they couldn't believe it. And the beauty of that is, if we can do it in landlocked, conservative Cincinnati, anybody can do this.
We're not conservative anymore.
Well, let's hope. So now I'm basically on the film festival circuit. It's going to be, I know those are too hard to read, but it'll be shown in Benicia, California's film festival in September, the Global Peace Film Festival in Orlando, Florida in September, the Kuala Lumpur Film Festival in October. I'm not going to that one, it's in Malaysia. And, well, I would go if they paid me to go. And then the International City County Management Association. So all your city managers and county managers belong to this organization. They go to their yearly conference and they're going to see it. And I'm so excited about that. It's in Nashville. That's where I used to work, so I'm glad to go back to Nashville. And I just talked to our former city manager, Milton Dahoney, and assistant city manager, Scott Stiles, who are now in Phoenix and Long Beach, California. They will be at the conference and they're going to join me for the talk back part, the Q&A part, so that they can answer the questions from a city manager perspective, because they were the ones who are really involved, you know, when we planned this project. So if you'd like more information, bluegoesgreen.us is our website. I actually have DVDs for sale. If you'd like to buy one, they're $20. And I'm also very willing to do screenings for any kind of group that you have and do another talk back session. Usually when we do these locally, we have someone from environmental, like Larry Falcon usually comes. We usually have a police leader and myself. So that's it on that story. I might need your help to get out of this, because now I want to talk about the other community engagement. Thank you so much for being my techie. Oh, I don't, but great. We did a press conference together. I guess while I was on council. Oh. All right. I need to get up a new PowerPoint now. I think I can do it. So anyway, this idea of community engagement is something that I saw over and over again when I was on city council, where, yes, just make it bigger, where developers would think they had engaged the community just by going to the community council and getting a letter, and they think they're done. So that by the time it gets to council, neighbors have found out about it, and a lot of people are upset. And it's always like a big brouhaha before council. So I learned from being involved with this police station the right way to do community engagement. You do it way up front. And also from being a politician, if you really want to engage people, you go door to door where it most affects people. So there's a developer now that I'm working with who's engaged me to help him with community engagement for this project, which will be the first development along the Wassonway Bike Trail. When he called me, I was just so happy, because he said, and I really want community input. And I said, well, would you sign a community benefits agreement? And he said, absolutely. And I said, would you spend any money for the public spaces? And he said, sure, how about $100,000? I'm like, yes, I want to work with you. So this is the area, as you can see in the red area, well, right under the red area. See those two black lines? That is the Wassonway Bike Trail. This is at the corner of Paxton and Wasson. All those cars you see across the street, that's the big Kroger parking lot, if it helps you orient where this is. So that portion in red is what this developer has a contract on, and he wants to build 6 single-family homes. Here's what it looks like now. It just is it's not really a green space, it's just no one cares for it. It collects a lot of litter. if you look to the west, you see the ugly billboards. It's across the street from the gas station, and looking the other way, well, this is the Hyde Park pediatrician's office where my kids and a lot of your kids probably went. And the development would stop just past just past where the billboards are to orient you. This is the developer's house that he designed and built in Hyde Park. He lives on Observatory Avenue. He knows what he's doing. This is a preliminary view of what it would look like from the front from Wasson Road. You can see he'll be putting in sidewalks, street trees. It's brick, and he's got a metal facade to sort of reflect the history of the railroad and stuff like that. He explains it better. This is, a little map of where the 6 houses would go. The lower level floor plan, what's interesting is he wants these to be live workspaces and realizes that so many people have a business that they run out of their house, including his wife who teaches piano, including me, who my office is my home, including probably a lot of you. So he's designed these so the lower level has this big room on the side that could be your office, your home office, or it could be a grandmother suite or whatever, but it's a big area. And then you would go upstairs for the living room, the study, the nice big kitchen, the patio. And basically there's not much of a backyard. It's the patio, and then there's the Wasson Way bike trail, because the people who will buy here want access to the bike trail. So it's smart growth, compact lots, creates a walkable neighborhood, and alternative transportation. Anybody who buys here is going to be able to bike, walk to Xavier, and then UC and beyond once they get this trail done. It's good for the neighborhood because right now that property is not generating any tax money. It's currently not walkable. And one of the things he's going to pay for is installing a signaled crosswalk across Wasson to the Kroger store, making it a lot safer for people who would just actually like to walk to the store. But right now it's so car-centric, you really can't do that. And he's willing to work with anybody who wants to join the community advisory team, which I'm, leading for him. So we've done some meetings. These are some of the possible amenities that could be paid for with this community money. Maybe some bike racks, benches, fountains, maybe a shelter area, and because there's public space on either end of this development that he's willing to pay for this stuff. This is what the homes would look like from the front. And these are the people at the city planning department who are, in charge of the project. Well, I just want to show you this. So we started by going door to door in May to talk to the people most directly impacted who would be on the other side of the railroad tracks. And then we presented to the Oakley Community Council where we got support. We presented to the Hyde Park Neighborhood Zoning Committee, which had a lot of questions but just said, I'm going to wait to see what the city says. We presented to the full council. And we presented to the Transportation Committee of Green Umbrella. And then the city did its coordinated review of the project and decided that it would be better to get a zone change there from single family 6 to single family 2, which would allow for smaller lots, but it's still single family zoning. And then we also wanted to reach out to just anybody who might be a green fan, even if they don't live in the neighborhood, but maybe they're planning to use Wasson Way Bike Trail. So we did a free presentation at Civic Garden Centers so we could try to get some more people involved. And it was advertised by Tri-State Trails and the Wasson Way Bike people, and we put it on Nextdoor. So on August 1st, the developer had his final review by the city planning department. They recommended the project and the zone change. But we found out that city planning screwed up and sent the notice of their final review on August 1st to the wrong P.O. box, to the Hyde Park Community Council. So they didn't have official notification. And when we went to the Hyde Park meeting last week, suddenly there were all these opponents. And these are people who never said they opposed before, but now they don't want anything, basically. And when we went to the planning commission last Friday, the Hyde Park zoning committee people came to protest against the project. We had 2 citizens who spoke in favor, and we had 18 support letters. But in the end, the planning commission said, well, we feel really bad that the city didn't give them proper notice. So now we want you to have another public meeting. And the public meeting is going to be Monday night. And it's going to be at the Oakley Community Center in the evening. So usually these reviews are held at Centennial 2 at like 4:30 in the afternoon. So we found now next door these very small group of vocal opponents are putting all this stuff that's incorrect about the development on next door and circulating a petition and, you know, just sort of rabble-rousing. And so I don't know what's going to happen on Monday, August 26th, but we hope that some people who support the project will come out and speak too. Because if you like bike trails, if you want developers to actually do community engagement, this is a project that would set a precedent for our city. And that's why I like it too, because this will be the first development along Wasson Way Bike Trail. We're going to have development all along the trail wherever it can happen. And wouldn't we like developers to spend a little portion of their funds for public spaces and the public realm to give something back to the neighborhood? If this goes through, this will be the example of a developer who did that. So, and then in the future, after this meeting on Monday night, September 6th, this planning commission vote will take place. If they recommend the zone change, then there's still more council committees to go through and city council to get it finally approved. And then I guess construction would start in the spring. So I'm kind of interested in what you have to say about what do you think we should do now? We thought we were doing everything right by going door to door, by reaching out and just telling all these groups, but I don't know, maybe we did something wrong. I'd like to know what you think. How can we help it succeed? And then if you are interested in helping us, please write a letter of support. Okay, ma'am.
I was at the meeting for the neighborhood council in Hyde Park.
Okay.
I find it a little insulting on how you described it. What I find about the trail is finding out that the city didn't buy all of that because the railroad held it. And that left it open for developers. And yours is not the only project there. There's another project further by where I live. And these houses are going to be 7 feet from the trail.
The backyard.
From the backyard, right. And I don't, you know, and the way you describe the street on Wasson is not as bad. You couldn't have taken worse pictures, because I've been on it lots of times, and I have a friend that lives on the part of Wasson. I've been on other trails, and I don't understand why Cincinnati feels they have to litter the whole trail with all these developments. I also know that there was a place there that was a coffee shop. They were told they had to move because they were going to raise their rent. And I don't know what they're planning on putting there. But each development seems to be a surprise. And I'm not looking forward to a whole bunch of developments coming around that Wasson Way area. The traffic there is disgusting. It's backed up sometimes all the way from Kroger's to Edwards. So as you can see, I'm really disappointed, not with you, but with the fact that the city and also the Wasson Way people, when they pushed Wasson Way, did not describe all these areas that were up for grabs.
Okay, let me respond a little bit to what she said. Just so you know, whenever a bike trail is developed, and this is like history, just look at any city that's done it anywhere in the country, development follows. Because people actually do want to live very close to the bike trail. A lot of people want that lifestyle. And I believe that part of the reason the city bought the right-of-way is because they want that development. They want people coming to the city. I agree traffic is a problem. The developer did hire an engineer to do a traffic study, and there is a solution proposed for how to calm traffic in that area that will happen if the development goes forward. The thing that, as long as we're being honest, what I was shocked by when I got to that meeting last week, and the developer was actually on vacation, so it was me and his attorney, and we were told, you'll have 5 minutes to give an update to the community. And as soon as we started to speak, people were interrupting us, calling us names, and the council let it happen. And I thought, what is going on? If this is the way we treat developers who are trying to do something good in our neighborhoods, it's just not the right way to treat people. So I felt like we were really disrespected at that meeting, and we were surprised that suddenly that we had all these opponents. However, I believe we can work it out, and it can be a win-win, and I hope you feel that way too, or will feel that way after you are able to ask all your questions of the Wasson people who are going to be at that meeting Monday.
Yeah, hi, Ms. Quinlivan. Thank you for coming out and sharing this with everyone. I also like Blue Goes Green. Fantastic. I agree with you that the city, in a perfect world, if they had the money, could have and should have purchased the remaining land, but it does come down to costs. And as Lori said, it is an economic development opportunity. I would also like to remind people that this is contested land between Oakley Community Council and the Hyde Park Neighborhood Association. This is to the north of the tracks, which is usually the border between Oakley and Hyde Park. It never was contested before, but over the last 10 years it's become contested. It goes back to the East Hyde Park annexation by Hyde Park and others. I will say that Oakley Community Council has supported this because they have undertaken what's called the Oakley Master Plan. And in that master plan, it is requesting that our developments are single-family residents that are owner-occupied. So we'd like to see more single-family residents that are owner-occupied, and this will be a single-family resident that's owner-occupied. If I was able to live there, it'd be attractive to me. It's priced out of my range.
Me too.
But it is what the market will bear, and there are developments that are happening along this route, and so I encourage people to find developers that are willing to listen, engage, and give back before they just shoot down the opportunity, because development is going to happen. Hopefully we'll have more of an opportunity to be involved in that process before the concept.
Okay.
I have a question about, was any research done on people's opinion of living 7 feet from the trail? Personally, I'm thinking, I don't know that I want all those bikes going by my...
Well, I think the developer did his own, not scientific research, just talked to people, and he himself is going to move, if this goes through, from his home on Observatory into one of these homes, because he really wants that lifestyle and wants to live there. And he did talk to a couple of realtors who thought these will be snapped up right away if they become available.
I grew up in Hyde Park, and I know, and I still do a lot in Hyde Park. I eat, shop, work, and play in Hyde Park, even though I can't afford to own the house that I grew up in.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that the people, the grassroots people behind the Wasson Way project, did the Wasson Way project so there would be a lot of development along the Wasson Way. I think what they want is bushes and flowers and animals and butterflies and birds and bees. That's what I think they want. That's what I wanted when I supported the Wasson Way project. I did not want to see development, especially not in Hyde Park. And the people in Hyde Park, let me tell you, I grew up with a boatload of them, and they want their area to be what they want. They don't want a developer to come along and make a boatload of money. Done.
Well, right now the area is very unattractive and unusable. So it will actually look better when he's done and he's offering to landscape the trail and make those butterflies and bushes and trees that you're talking about and maintain it. Maintain. The city won't do it. The city's still trying to raise money to continue just building the trail. So I think it needs to be a private partnership with the public to make the trail the best it can be. But, bicyclists who supported the trail might want it all just to be beautiful nature, But anybody who really is a cyclist who goes on trails will tell you when they've gone on other trails around the city, around the country, there's development too. It follows.
Well, to the east side of Cincinnati, I'm sorry, out in Terrace Park, it's not that way. It's not developed. It is very nice, it's beautiful, it's greenery all over the place, and that goes from Loveland all the way down through Newtown, and people love it that way. There's a couple places that you can go to the bathroom, a couple places you can get some water, but it's not developed, and nobody wanted it developed.
Well,
and that was respect. But please, wait. Last night, we had Mount Auburn Community Council. And I want to tell you about developers' view and community view. Uptown Properties came in and say, we are so wonderful. Look at all the things that we have done for you in Mount Auburn. We have done this. We found you a little neighborhood garden plot on McGregor. Isn't that nice of us? And oh, we rehabbed this building here and this building, so, you know, that's some affordable housing in your neighborhood. But they built 300 freaking apartments on Wellington Place. 300. And the studios are going for 1,200. That is not community engagement. Now, they want now to go into Bigelow and Josephine and Ringgold right there at the top of Mount Auburn and put in 200 of the same kind of units. And they just came in and told the community council, we are so wonderful. Look at what we're going to do for you. When our Mount Auburn plan made it very clear, we want single family housing. We want owner-occupied housing. But developers think, look what we're doing for you. You're going to destroy everything that's gone on, the beautiful historic homes in Mount Auburn. They're coming in with their plan. They've already got it done. They already bought the property. It's 3 acres of one of the highest peaks coming up out of Cincinnati. But yet they're telling us what they're going to do. This is the view of the developers. They're coming to community councils and saying, this is what we're going to do.
Some
And then we
developers,
have to
but not
screen.
all developers, and you make a very good contrast between them and the one I'm talking about, whose first move was to go door to door and talk to people and then say, what can we do for you? Give us your ideas and join a community advisory team. And I think that's what we want, we should want.
I'm wondering about tax abatements.
Yes.
Because that's the burr under my saddle, is all these tax abatements. Instead of putting in drinking fountains, I wanted to see them pay taxes so the rest of us don't have to pay for the load. That might be why a lot of people oppose this stuff, is we're tired of getting hammered by the tax abatement.
I do know there's a whole separate group working on changes to the tax abatement because a lot of people feel the way you do. But let's look at the facts. Right now, this parcel generates 0 for our taxes. And if these are going to be LEED sustainable homes, I'm sure that the developer will try to go for the tax abatement like everybody who's building in the city. It doesn't last forever, but you know, if you want to change the tax abatement, there's a way to do that, and a group that's working on it. And I know that there's a group in Mount Lookout, led by Mount Lookout Community Council, working on that if you'd like to be a part of that. I know a lot of people are angry about other issues, and it kind of all gets conflated into, you know, opposition.
Well, I'm also concerned about tax abatements. I think that is a huge factor. Yeah, it's undeveloped now. But people in Hyde Park are really upset about how houses are being squeezed into every inch of space. And neighborhood people who've lived there a long time who don't have tax abatements, their taxes have exploded.
Yep.
And people like us, we feel like we're subsidizing people's dream homes because we have to pay the taxes they don't have to pay. They're sending their kids to the public schools and they're not paying their fair share. So when you're getting this pushback, you need to think in terms of It's not about those few buildings. It's about this bigger problem. It's a big problem. Why? You know, there's development that needs to be done in other neighborhoods. Hyde Park is pretty much, doesn't need any supplement.
Well, your solution though is not with this developer, it's with the city. And you should be talking to your city
Yes.
council members, and you should join this group that's formed, that's working on it, that's gonna make recommendations. If you really care about that, it is a separate issue.
Well, you need to know where people are coming from.
Oh, I hear
know.
this
I
all the
know
time.
you're hearing it, and
Yeah.
you seemed like you were surprised when you went to that meeting and you were hearing all
No,
this
I was
pushback.
surprised at the disrespect and that they wouldn't let us even speak.
Well, it shows how much anger there is.
Yeah.
One other thing, it's not your little project, it's other projects that's happening. The people on Columbus, in my neighborhood, by Hyde Park Avenue, all of a sudden they're gonna build 2 houses, which they haven't gotten anyone to pay for it to order yet. But they were told by the guy who runs Wasson Way that that was gonna be a point for the bikers, the cyclists, to come in and out. All of a sudden, and Paxton is right near it. So their neighborhood is being inundated. And so this kind of planning seems to be, who can buy that property and how can I develop it? And have I got enough money? And can I get it through city council? So-called urban planning. Because to me, urban planning is not real urban planning. They did the banks. They have to look at urban planning throughout the city. And it's not just for profit.
Right, I agree with you, and as Craig said, every neighborhood does its own plan, its own master plan about what we want in our neighborhood. I know that Hyde Park is working on theirs right now,
But
but
that
it's
doesn't
not
mean
done.
it's gonna work because of the, you go to planning. Oh, it's okay, it's a zone, we'll turn it from single housing, 4 of them, 2 of them to 7 of them, 20 of them. Or you'll build the 300 apartments somewhere else. That is not city planning. That is something else that's going on. You can have a plan, but if you don't really listen to the neighborhoods and really execute something that the neighborhood wants, that is not city planning. That is pushing for money and giving it to the developer.
Well, that's why this one is actually trying to form a community advisory team, and I wish all developers would do that. I'll just give you one other quick example of what just happened this couple months ago. You know, I live over there on Kroger. It's right between like Columbia, Tuscaloosa, Mount Lookout, Hyde Park, right in that area. Developer comes to a meeting, says, I'm going to build 40 luxury homes on Walworth Avenue, which is that street that parallels Riverside just south of the precinct. 40 homes. It's a dead-end street. And I said at the meeting, are you interested in community input? And he goes, oh, yes, I am. I said, I will form a group of people and get you a community advisory team. And he's like, great, do it. Well, as soon as we did it, he was like, oh no. With support from the East End Community Council and the Columbia Tuscaloosa Community Council, they let me lead this group or get this group. Anybody who's interested in having a say in this development, I showed them what's been done around the city, good and bad. And then we had our meeting with the developer and said, here's what we want. Here's what citizens want. They wanted protections for this and that, and they wanted input into things. And he agreed to it all verbally. And then we said, and now we want you to put it in writing in a community benefits agreement. And he said, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. And we said, why not? He said, well, I don't want to be held to anything. Exactly. So he continued for like about 2 months to say he would never sign a community benefits agreement. We kept pressing, and we started, reaching out to council members, and guess what? He signed it. So now all these people over there have the protection of a document in writing of what the developer has promised he will do and what he won't do. And I think we should have one of those for every big project, especially and that's what this guy's willing to do for 6 residential homes. So, pardon?
He promised that.
Who promised?
The lawyer at the neighborhood thing said that the developer would build.
He will sign sign a community benefits agreement, and that would be worked out with people who join the community advisory team. But there's no point in doing a community advisory team until he sees whether he's gonna get the zone change, because if he doesn't get the zone change, the whole thing's dead anyway. But he will. I'll make sure.
I'd just like to remind people that before you get tarred too much with the brush of corporate development, when you were on city council, you chaired the Quality of Life Committee. You were the leading environmentalist on council. And I just would like to mention those things.
Thank you. And I wouldn't put my name to anything unless I really believed that it was a good project for citizens. I wasn't paid anything to do that community benefits agreement for the community councils. I just did it because I wanted to. I am being paid by the developer, but I would never agree to work with him if he wouldn't have agreed to go door to door, do a community benefits agreement, and spend some of his own money for the neighborhood, which he's agreed to. So yeah, I'm excited to work with him. I wish they all were like that.
Yeah, Laura, can you also maybe share how involved you were on the Wasson Way being kicked off, and also the interim development controls and what that is and why that's important for communities as it relates to encroaching development?
Well, I was kind of the champion for Wasson Way Bike Trail when I was on council. Jay Andrus and his folks came to me with this crazy idea, and I thought it was definitely worth pursuing. But anyway, so I was a champion for Wasson Way Bike Trail. I think it'd be really great for our city. But the interim development control is something that you can get over a section of your neighborhood that kind of puts a pause on everything until you can work out what your plan is without going into nitty-gritty details about it, so. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much, Lori. As you can understand,
Can I add one thing quick? What do you think about the rubric that IJPC, I believe it is, has developed as to what neighborhoods should do when they're confronting development people, right?
I'm not familiar with it, so I can't comment.
Take a look at that.
I will, thank you. And thank you for your time. It was great being able to have this discussion with you today. If you're interested in the documentary or this project, the Wasson Way thing, I've got a little flyer, and I'll be around to talk to you afterwards if you'd like. Thank you. Thank you.
I want to sign up for lunch. I'd like to sign up.